Hey, everybody. Welcome to the official Do Good Better podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Kirby. And of course, we talk about things and we bring on guest experts and we bring on brilliant people to inspire the small and medium-sized nonprofit organizations. Today's a special episode for myself. And I will preface this by the young lady that I have on the podcast today. Is one of the reasons why I started the podcast, was an inspiration on why I started the podcast in the first place, was one of the first people I actually interviewed as a guest expert to help nonprofits train. She happened to be like 10 years old when I did it, which is banana pancakes. And I am ecstatic to have somebody that, if you are in the nonprofit world, if you are a nonprofit leader, if you are just thinking about doing good in the world, hold on to your butts, because you're about to be super inspired by my friend and special guest on the official Do Good Better podcast, Miss Sawyer Anderson.
Hello.
Sawyer, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Much better that you are here today. We have a lot to talk about. If you are scrolling through iTunes, if you're scrolling through YouTube, and you find yourself listening to this episode, but you have no idea who a Sawyer Anderson is, A, you will, and B, I would love you to kind of tell a story to the listening audience on who you are, what you do, how you got there, kind of thing. Your story at your pace. Sawyer, the floor is yours.
Okay. So hi, I'm Sawyer Anderson. I'm 11 years old, and my whole entire mission started when my dad went to Africa in August of 2017, and he came back and he told me stories of people who do not have clean water and have to walk 3 miles to get it. And it's bewildering because there's kids my age, younger, and even people that are much older than me who have to do that, who have to walk 3 miles down and back. And I was like, I need to help them. I need to make a difference and change how that's happening. I need to try to help them. And I was like, well, how can I do that? And I thought about it. And my grandma's garage sale was coming up. And what most perfect time in the whole entire world, I could sell cookies and drinks at my grandma's garage sale. So I did that. And my initial goal was $50 because that is clean water for one person for life. And so I was selling and I didn't get $50. I got $188, which was bewildering. So I kept going. I sold cookies through Facebook and social media. And then I partnered with my church, Hope Lutheran, in Fargo, to make these bags. And they're called shitenge bags. And they're made out of African wax fabric called shitenge. And we started making them, and they were a big hit. And I designed them, and we had people who volunteered to make them, which was very awesome. And then we went along and I was selling them. And then I started talking to people and doing presentations. And then a lot of people bought bags and they only kept like 5 or whatever, or maybe 1 or 2 when they bought like 20 or 10. They're like, just keep the money and take the bags that we bought that we're not going to use and bring them somewhere. And I was like, okay. And they're like, do something good with them. So I decided, okay. And my dad listed off some organizations and he stumbled upon the Jeremiah program. So I brought my bags over there. And if you don't know what the Jeremiah program is, it is where young women and like moms and ladies who are mothers learn to be a mother. And if they're struggling, they help them get them back up. And so I brought them over there and I just decided to drop them off. But no, they were like, you have to come to this graduation thing. I don't really remember what it was. It was just a graduation thing in my mind. And it's where the moms graduate from their little classes about being a mom. So I went there with my bags and I got to meet all the moms. I got to drop off the bags and give them to them, which was really, really cool. And this nice lady named Koya came up to me and she was like, I want to work with you. And I was like, okay. So we had a little meeting, I guess, in my kitchen,
Mhm.
and we were talking. She was like, you should write a book. And I was like, lady, are you hallucinating? I am only like 10 years old. I cannot write a book. Well, guess what? I did write a book. And I also illustrated it. And it's called Waterworks. So yeah, I was an author and illustrator, and here I am.
I think you're short selling yourself on a couple of things, and I will point out where you're short selling yourself. You are a international best-selling author. I just for the listening audience, this is a 10-year-old girl who has the soul of a 45-year-old do-gooder who has dedicated her young life to making the world a better place through purchasing wells for individuals who need clean water to thrive and survive. And did I mention the fact that she is now 11? I just need to let you know that. And she wrote a book about it, and that she gives all the proceeds to the book to help build these wells. And I tell that to you not to make yourself feel bad as somebody who is a nonprofit leader or whatever. I'm telling you that to inspire you that if you are ever wondering if your path is right or whatever, you've got that gut instinct sort of in there, do it. Otherwise, you won't do it, right? And so this is just, it's so fascinating that opportunity has always knocked for you, and you have not only answered, but you've kicked down the door, which I always thought was really interesting and fun. And you've done it with such grace, and you've done it with such enthusiasm and such passion that you don't see from adults. And I've always been admiring of you. I've been an admirer of you. And then that's around that time where you did publish your book is when you and I met. And one of the things that that I asked you to do is when we did a conference for the first time. And I said, listen, if somebody of your stature can come on stage and give a pitch to an audience of hundreds of people who you've never met before, can you inspire an entire group of people to be comfortable with making an ask and a pitch, right? So one of the hardest things you'd have to do in the nonprofit world is ask for money or ask for a reason why you should do it. I'm wondering, I remember I told you I wasn't going to put you on the spot, but now I'm going to put you on the spot because, well, we'll talk about why I think you could do this in the first place later. But do you remember the pitch that you gave on stage at our first annual Do-Gooders Conference? And if you do, could you, for the listening and viewing audiences, for those who are on YouTube, can you give that pitch on why on earth I should support you and your mission for clean water?
Awesome. So yeah, I can say that.
Of course you can. Yes.
So it is my special elevator pitch. And if you don't know what an elevator pitch is, well, let me tell you. It is a pitch where you have to give in the short time you're in an elevator. And you don't have to do it in an elevator. You can do it anywhere. So this is my elevator pitch. One book, one life. Save a life with every book. That's an offer you can't refuse. So buy a book and save a life. Jazz hands, only $9.99.
I love this for a number of reasons. One, if you can't fundraise like a 10-year-old, which is what the age you were when you did this, you sure can, because that's how it's done. I also love that you explained what an elevator pitch was, because I think a lot of people think of this as, oh my gosh, I'm going to get really nervous about telling my story, or oh, I'm going to get really nervous about how I'm going to approach people. And you do it with just such flair. Again, the adding of the jazz hands is great. As somebody who uses his hands to speak way more than he should, I appreciate that. But I love the audacity in which you just say, listen, it's a book. It's gonna save a life. It's less than $10. What's the big deal? And I think that attitude in the nonprofit world needs to be a little bit more prevalent, because you do wonderful things as a nonprofit. You should be proud of it. You should be excited about it. And that is exactly what you embody yourself. So that's awesome. So you created these Shitange bags. How many bags do you think you have A, designed, and B, sold? And I'm going to say 2 years, because that's literally how long you've been doing this, right? So let's say, how many have you designed and how many bags have you sold?
Holy moly. I am not really the math person, so I got to think about this.
All right. I'm going to say a lot.
Yeah, thousands.
Thousands of bags designed, thousands of bags created, and thousands of bags sold. And then you wrote a book and illustrated a book, right? And again, we became book buddies because around the same time I published mine for the first time. And I was like, oh yeah, I published a book. And then I read yours and I was like, it's so much better than my book. And then I bought a whole bunch of them and then it was just great. I loved it. How many books have you sold worldwide?
So I am published on 3 continents, not 1, not 2, but 3. And I'm
So
published on North America, Asia, and Africa. And I have my book translated to Vietnamese in Vietnam, and I have it in Zambia, which is really, really cool because that's where my dad went on his trip to Africa. And that's where my dream started. So
hey, Australia, get on the ball here and order some books. Dang it. Everybody in Melbourne listening to this, I'm just going to send it to random people in Australia, and you need to buy Waterworks immediately.
And Europe.
Yeah, and Europe.
Maybe even Antarctica.
Why not? There is several places of people living on Antarctica. I'm sending a book there. So thousands of books all over the place in 3 different continents, exactly. When a nonprofit has a big, hairy, audacious goal and idea, sometimes they get they second guess themselves. Is there a moment where you started this process selling bags or writing a book where you said, is it really worth it? Am I going to do this? Or you had that hesitation of whether you could do it? Or has this always been internalized? You're like, I'm going to do it anyway.
So how big or small I did it, I just wanted to make a difference and do something. So I was like, well, this probably won't get very big, but I'll be making a difference and saving some lives no matter what. And it's become so big, and I'm so thankful for that. And I think I can just do pretty much anything that's thrown at me at this point.
And that's, I think that where nonprofits get stuck a lot is that they second guess themselves, or they wait till it's perfect instead of just doing it, right? And they take a leap, or they don't take a leap. And that's where I think you have thrived, is that you're like, hey, it's going to help enough people out of the gate. I'm not really concerned about numbers. I'm just going to do it. And then because of the audacity of you doing it, therefore it grows and becomes something bigger and better, which is just amazing. So again, this is why I love having you on as a podcast. And I'm so excited to have you back, is because I get to see this kind of come full circle. It's not even full circle. It's like the first circle. That's not even full circle. It's the first loop in a number of loops that we'll have you on a million times. So like every season, we're just going to have you back and see what happened next. It's going to be awesome. So the bags, we've got the books, we've got all of those things. And then, because again, you are now 11 and not yet 12, international best-selling book and author and bag creator, you decide during quarantine that you were a little bit bored. Tell the listening audience what one does after you sell bags internationally and sell books internationally and raise a bunch of money for an international organization to build wells. What on earth is there left to do as an 11-year-old?
So first of all, during quarantine, we, of course, had really nothing to do except just stay home and sleep. But we started making even more bags than before, and really, really unique ones. And we started designing ones based after my favorite Broadway shows. And we started making ones that were personalized. And my seamstress, Betsy Ross, my dad, started getting on those, and I designed every single one. And we did more and more than we pretty much ever done. And then I was asked by these nice ladies named Janelle and Meg to do a pageant. And I had literally never ever heard of a pageant like this before. I'd only heard of like toddlers and tiaras where they just are little brats. But I didn't really know what a pageant even was. And I was like, sure, I have nothing really else to do. And so I hopped on that, and it was an amazing experience. And it was all based on platform. And that is one of the reasons I really did it. And because of Waterworks. And then I got up on stage and I did my thing, and I won the title of Miss Preteen Flickertail International 2021. And I'm so happy about that I decided to do it.
I'm sitting with royalty. I bet you didn't know that. You're listening to royalty. The best part about you on stage in pageant form is that your platform and your voice now gets a larger microphone, as if you didn't think you had the opportunity to have a larger microphone. So what sort of experiences, by being in a pageant itself and talking about Waterworks and talking about your book and talking about the impact that you can make globally, what things have you seen change from not being in a pageant? Because I think, again, I'm an old guy, right? So I watched, what was it, Miss Congeniality, right? That was like the movie that I used to watch, and I'm like, wow, pageant shows, that's great. But the voice that you have now is exponentially louder. Talk to me a little bit about how excited you are to tell the story to way more people who are listening, who never thought about listening to you before because they never knew who you were in the first place.
So, while I was doing the pageant, I met so many great people, and when I was crowned my title, so many more opportunities came up. I started Instagram account, a Facebook account for Miss Preteen Flickertail, and I got to meet a lot of people who I had no clue who they were, like Miss Preteen Alabama or whatever, and Tennessee or whatever, and I became just like friends with them because of my social media title, and that's really cool. And then more opportunities came up, and in July we have nationals, and that is with like almost every single state, which is amazing. And I get to talk and meet so many more people and spread my word even farther than I could even imagine, which is mind-boggling.
I think it's funny that the pandemic, because you were bored and decided to have, to run for a pageant, that's hilarious, and I just love it. But I think what you said is great too, is that we could have just buried ourselves in sleep and done something unproductive within the pandemic. And what I think is great is that you have had the ability to inspire that you would have never gotten this opportunity if you wouldn't have been bored in quarantine, right? So you would have never taken this leap. You would have never met some of these people. You would have never engaged with as many people because you took a leap of faith, or you actually took this pandemic and made it into a positive. And that's the one thing that I really, really love about you as a person, is that you've never taken the opportunity not to be the most positive human being in the world and take a leap and say, I'm going to make more of an impact. Your whole being is, how can I make more of an impact? And I think it's as nonprofits of all sizes and shapes, because there's a lot of people who are going to be listening that say that forgot their passion, and that maybe the whole pandemic has maybe shut them down, and they forgot about what impact they could make. Was there a time during your quarantine where you had to remind yourself or remember that what you did and what you were doing was fantastic?
Well, I kind of, when the quarantine hit, I couldn't make any presentations. And my last one before the pandemic was just a week before we got in lockdown. And I went to a church, and there was like no people at all, and it was just so small. And I completely missed that. Like during the quarantine, I was like, well, what can I do that I'm now in quarantine? Can't really do much. But I could still post on social media. I could sell bags, and I don't think I ever lost the spark to help people. It just got brighter. Yep.
I think, this is why you're such a good guest, is because if you're ever listening, if you ever need a pick me up, right? If you ever need someone to kind of like, hey, I'm having a bad day. Sucks. Just go find Sawyer on all of her social media platforms and go watch her perform or watch her speak or look at what she's doing. And you're going to be inspired. Like, well, if she's championing this, I can champion this as well. That's what this is for. It's going to be great. We just recently had Giving Hearts Day here in this region. For those of you who are listening who don't live in the North Dakota, Minnesota area, Giving Hearts Day is a giving day in our region that is blown out of, like, it's just unbelievably massive. I think like yesterday they raised like close to $22 million for this particular event. You participated in this. How?
So for my second year, I did Giving Hearts Day last year, but this year I was asked to do it again. And on social media, I just advertised it like crazy. Donate to your favorite nonprofits. Please help people. And I raised enough money for 4 wells, and over 1,000 lives were saved. Oh my gosh. Just on that one day.
Right?
Yeah.
For those who are wondering what a well costs, walk me through kind of what I've got $50. Like, right? So I've got $50. I wanted to donate, but I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I kind of like this Sawyer Anderson, but I don't know what my $50 can do, right? So walk me through what a well costs, what the process looks like, and how somebody would get a hold of you to donate you a big sack of money and how they would help, right? So walk me through this.
Okay, so let's say you bought a book or a bag. Let's say you bought a bag, for instance, which is $50. This is a very easy example.
Love it.
So you bought a bag that is $50, and I partner with these 2 organizations called Wellspring and World Vision, and I bring the money to Wellspring, and they match it, and then they bring that to World Vision, and they triple match it, and then it becomes enough money for all to put in a well, like
it's a great one, like to dig one out.
Yeah. So
my $50 turns into $100 at Wellspring, that turns into $200 to buy a well. Pretty
much, and I think I'm not really much of a math person, as I said before.
You and me both.
But I'm pretty sure a well is $15,000. It's $15,000. So if you buy a bunch of bags, then maybe you can build a well. And so I'm Giving Hearts Day because I'm not good at math either. You had enough money to build 4 wells. Yeah. Which is $60,000 ish. Yes.
Look at me. Look at my getting math. Look at that. My kids are going to be so proud. Dad, you did math. And it'll be the first time ever that I have done math correctly. $60,000, 4 wells. Now, one of the things that I think is great is that you get to like deliver checks. So most nonprofits get to have those check ceremonies where they get like a giant check and then they get to take a photo in front of it. You, however, get to give giant checks to organizations and be the person that actually kind of shows up and like, hey, here's a check with a lot of zeros on it. Talk to me about the last check that you got to help write from your book sales to, was it Wellspring?
Yes.
Okay.
So I raised $20,000 from book sales, and I got to present a big, huge check to Wellspring, and it was kind of a little gift for Giving Hearts Day.
A little gift, like I just want perspective. I just want everybody listening to like, oh, a little gift that I did for selling books. Books being $9.99.
Yeah. So
less than $10. You raised $20,000, and I'm not even going to try to do the math on that one. It's a lot of books. That is incredible. And I think this is the best part about listening to your story is the litany of nonprofits who, again, may forget their mission at some points, or may not have a piece of inspiration that they sort of work on every day. They wake up, they're like, oh, I got all these spreadsheets to work about. Oh, I got to do this and this and this. If you need a pick-me-up, listen to this podcast, but B, look at what one person can do. And then think about the size of your own organization and the size of your volunteers and your board and the amount of people that you serve. Think about that as an impact, and use Sawyer as an example of going above and beyond and actually executing on that plan that you think is a really good idea, that you might not think it's going to be a working thing in progress, but yeah, it does. It works. If you put yourself out there and you actually execute, instead of talking about it incessantly, you're going to have results exactly like this. This is wonderful. How can people follow you, and so that they can also be inspired and have a grin on their face every time they watch you, either on a video or other things? How can people do this?
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yes, I've softballed this for you. I'm excited. Yeah.
So if you want to find Waterworks, you can go to my website if you want to buy a book or a bag or donate. It is waterworksc.com, and the C is SEA, like water, and my initials, which is really, really cool. And then I have also a Facebook page, which is Waterworks, just like my website. And I also have a Facebook and Instagram account for Miss Preteen Flickertail, which is probably Miss Preteen Flickertail.
We will have all of those links in the show notes, because you're going to want to follow Sawyer. You're going to want to donate. You're going to want to buy a bag. You're going to want to buy a book. In fact, buy a book and then buy another book and then give it to somebody as well. I think a lot of people do that, which is great. They buy a book for themselves and they buy for other people. There's a lot. If you're a business, if you're listening to this and you're a business and that you want to kind of inspire your own staff or your own staff's kids, it's a wonderful book that you kind of put yourself in as somebody who's journeying to sort of a place that needs well, and you like have this revelation. It's wonderful. I don't want to give away the book. I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but it's great. If you're a business buying a whole bunch of books for yourself to kind of distribute to your vendors or your people who work with you, it's a wonderful gift as well. Buy a bag. Everyone's unique, right?
Yeah.
They're all unique. So if it's almost Valentine's Day when we're recording this, right? You probably have somebody's got a birthday up. They want a unique gift that you can't find anywhere else. What a wonderful opportunity. You should go buy a bag too. And then at the same time, you're buying a bag, which is the best part about what you have created here as your empire grows. That's what I'm going to call it eventually, is this Sawyer Anderson empire that is helping the world, is that for everything you purchase, you get something and you give something. You give the opportunity for a community in Africa to have sustainable, clean water, which is something that is absolutely necessary, that you are doing the work for, and it's amazing. So I would like to thank you for coming into the studio, which is wonderful. B, for all the work that you are doing. Congratulations on being Miss Preteen Flickertail, and I wish you best of luck at the Nationals. Listen, if there's betting odds in Vegas, go. I don't even know if Vegas would bet on these things. I'm putting money down on you winning this thing. And thank you for what you do. Thanks for being an inspiration to a lot of nonprofits and myself to always want to do good, and appreciate you being a guest on the official Do Good Better podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. This was fun. We'll
have you on again and again and again, because you're amazing. And thanks for listening, everybody, to the official Do Good Better podcast. We'll talk to you soon.